We are back here. I don't know if we're back here at a pivotal moment for the season, or we're back here expecting us to be at this position when it comes to these two teams, because it is clearly evident that these two teams have been playing better against us when we play each other. And whether that there's a central focus by those two teams when it comes to us, and we are not reciprocating that when it comes to them, I don't know, but that's how I feel. Because it is clear that there is intentional purpose when it comes to Cleveland, when it comes to how they are reacting to the games against us. And specifically from Boston, they don't want to hear that the Knicks are close to them. So they are making it very purposeful to make sure there's a clear distinction between them and us. That's my feeling. That's what I expected this week to show out. I expected them to be 1-2 against these two teams. I didn't expect them to be blowouts, but I expected losses against those two teams. And I don't know if I'm happy about that or just accepting the fact that these two teams are playing better against us than are we against them. And that's just hard to accept, because that's not the case for this team last year. For whatever particular reason, that was the case. They had no Randall, they had no OG, and this team was still a force emotionally, intentionally on the court. Something's clearly missing with this team in comparison to the effort or the activities on the court. I don't want to classify as effort because effort can be delved into two different ways. I'm not that they're not closing in, closing out properly. I to a certain portion of me, I feel that they're not playing against these top teams with confidence. Mostly against because of either whether it's just the scheme or the way they're going about how they're attacking these teams, that they don't feel as confident using that plan against these teams. And against the other teams, it's purely just been Brunson been the winner. And against these top teams, he can't beat them by himself.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
It looks to me like, to some degree, when they play the other teams, they kind of show up, like everybody shows up.
Mm-hmm.
But for some reason, when they play against these teams, it's not the same.
Mm-hmm.
The drive is not there.
Mm-hmm.
Because even when they played um, Chicago,
Mm-hmm.
last game of Chicago, they didn't have Hart, they didn't have Ananobi,
Mm-hmm.
but they showed up. You know, and I don't know. Um, Maybe it's because he's getting more minutes, and I'm not faulting him because he's doing what he can do. He's
Mm-hmm.
actually doing what nobody knew he could do because you didn't see him play. I'm talking about Achua,
Mm-hmm.
Precious,
Mm-hmm.
because he's doing some things that you never knew he would do.
Right.
He's running the floor, from one
Mm-hmm.
end to the other, and making a play. But then again, with lack of playing all the time, he's making a couple of errors.
Mm-hmm.
He looks like he's trying. He's trying, of course. He's trying because he has to try. He's the option, so to speak.
Right.
And sometimes it doesn't work out to the best of his advantage. He's still doing
Mm-hmm.
good, but he can't fill all the spots that people are not showing up.
Yeah. I mean, it's easy when you look at like these last three games to point out that they need a third scorer.
Mm-hmm.
However, I don't know if they're designed properly to take advantage of a third scorer, because the top two scorers are so reliant upon whether that's intentionally by the scheme or the way that they are being coached, or it's the way of their makeup that allowing a third party to have a level of impact on a game. You know, Hart's impact is all on effort type
Yeah.
points. The other two, Bridges and OG, they're not effort type points type players.
Yeah.
They are in the ball in their hand, execute type players. And because the two, Cats and JB, are ball in hand type players, dominant and efficient, those other two efforts are lessened. And it kind of get the feeling that if that's going to be the case going forward, then those two other roles need to be utilized in a different way that's going to highlight their ability to be able to have ball in hand type effect on the court.
Yeah.
And I don't know how that comes about for this team. You don't want to put OG and Bridges on the bench, come off the bench to be able to do that, but whether it's a staggering to highlight certain elements so that they can cook, that also means you have to have the right bench to allow them to be able to do that.
Yeah.
And with this bench that they have here, it's not there's no confidence in this bench to be able to have that level of impact on the game as well, because the coach won't play them in a way that will utilize them. I can't say that Huck Porty's play on the court against his way because he has the effect upon the court against the other teams, but he doesn't get any play time against the big teams
Yeah.
for whatever particular reason. I'm not saying that he will be more effective or not. We don't know. He doesn't play against those teams, so we don't know. It's obviously by his lack of play, the coach doesn't think so. But he will be effective. I mean, in that Bulls game, he had serious effect when they were not playing at their best,
Yeah.
you know. But in these two games, he didn't get on the court for whatever particular reason. And again, that's when you're playing 90% of your minutes with the starting five against these teams, they know how they're going to play against them.
Yeah. Yep. They
They
prepare
don't
for
have
that.
anything to change. They know.
They prepare.
Mm-hmm.
That their strategy is set
Mm-hmm.
around the
Yeah.
players who's going to be on the
Yeah.
court.
Tibbs is not going to give any alternative to his starting five and let them play 90% of the minutes. So if they have a strategy for it to play against those guys on a regular basis and they're effective in doing so, of course they're going to be. So
Yeah.
again, what's the definition of insanity?
Yeah. And then all teams, they look at film.
Mm-hmm.
They look for the weaknesses.
Especially these two teams. I mean, you hear it.
Yeah.
When after the game against Cleveland, there was a lot of chatter about from Cleveland about why they so intentionally dominant over this team now.
Mm.
Does it draw back to that 2023 series? And they all say yes because they got whooped in
Yeah.
that series. So they have an intentional purpose behind them. And the sad part, this team that they're now playing against is not that team from 2023.
Exactly.
Mitchell Robinson is not there, who really
Yeah.
bullied them. Randall was hurt during that season, during that series. So it wasn't as if Randall was the reason for that, you know.
Yeah.
And they didn't even have DiVincenzo on that team, on the 2023
Mm.
team. That was RG Barrett on that team,
Right.
you know? So it's very weird. RG Barrett and Obi Toppin was on that team.
Yeah. That's right.
you know? So why is it that, you know, this iteration of teams doesn't have that level of fight? I don't know.
Yeah.
I, when what I see on Bridges on the court, I don't think he's invested in this team based upon how he's performing.
Mm-hmm.
I don't see that investment, whether emotionally, that the play against in Chicago where he blocked the shot at the end of the game to keep the overtime. I was surprised by that action because he hasn't been playing with that level of spirit. And
Yeah.
the weirdest part about that one, I don't know if you noticed in that game, because they showed a clip the last time he had a block shot that affected the results of the game, the team ran toward him.
Mm.
After this instance, nobody ran to him.
Mm-hmm.
That's just probably picking something out the air. That's probably just doesn't mean anything. But it was obvious because they showed the two to each other. The reaction from the team and the reaction from, in this instance here, there was no
Right,
reaction. I was
right,
like,
right.
that is weird.
So when he blocked the shot, nobody got too excited.
Nobody got too excited.
And it's possible because the game was close and they had already lost two close games to them, so they were kind of like holding their breath.
Mm-hmm.
They were happy, but they didn't want to get too
Mm-hmm.
excited.
Mm-hmm.
That's
It was still
possible.
overtime, right? But it just was weird.
You
It
know,
was just a weird comparison. And
yeah,
it made me absolutely nothing.
I hear you.
But it was just a weird when you do the actual comparison of a block that affected the results of the game. Both instances, they ran to him, was beating him in his chest. Nobody came to him.
Mm,
I
mm.
was like,
I didn't even notice that.
I was like,
I was
what?
too,
And again, it may not mean anything, but it just was weird.
I was too busy noticing that the announcers were celebrating that.
Mm-hmm.
They were like, ah, that
Mm-hmm.
block.
Like, that's weird.
You know, the commentators were, they were excited.
Yeah, they were.
You know,
Here's an interesting stat about today's game. They both teams shot 100%, shot the same number of free throws, hit them all. Both teams shot 38% from the field. In fact, one shot 38.9, the other shot 38.6. Right? Overall field goal percentage, there was a slight difference. But when you look at where was the dominance from a rebounding dominance, there was a +9 by one team. Turnovers were the same. Blocks were clearly evident. Assists were the same, basically. Yeah, I can see it now. It just was, yeah, Boston dominated this game.
mm,
But when I noticed it, when I saw the scoring numbers, I'm like, they shot the same free throws and same for 3-pointers, but
mm,
the overall shooting percentage was significantly better from Boston's standpoint. And when you look at the other stats, which are the effort stats, field goal, rebounds, blocks, steals, all
mm.
that was Boston.
What about turnovers?
It was the same,
Okay.
same.
Mm.
Blocks was 5-1 Boston. Steals were 8-4 Boston. Assists
Really?
27-21 Boston. Rebounds 49-40 Boston. Even offensive rebounds, Boston 12-7.
Mm,
Luke Cornett had more offensive rebounds than any other Knick.
mm.
Now that's saying something.
And Hart was playing?
Bart was playing, yeah. He almost had a triple double.
Okay.
20 points, 11 rebounds, 9 assists.
Mm,
I can never find that website again that speaks to the assists that could have had assists where they missed the open shot.
right.
It was a website that actually had that stat. So I don't know if, because you can always say, oh, they didn't pass the ball. Passing the ball is only a portion of assists.
Hmm.
Making the shot is the key
Exactly.
component of an assist.
Exactly. It's not an assist unless the ball goes in the basket.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
It's just a
So,
pass otherwise.
mm-hmm. And so that's where you really need to look at that other component of that stat, which is the would-be scenario where assists would have been counted if the person would have made the shot.
Yeah. I hear you.
You know, especially if the person was open. I can't ever
Mhm.
find that website again. But today's game was just, I don't want to even talk about the Cleveland game. They got beat like it wasn't nothing in the Cleveland game. It just was sad.
Yeah.
And but this game I thought they were gonna compete better, and they came out basically feet all in the sand.
Really.
They they were down by 20 points, 21 points. at the end of the half,
Mm,
and they came back in the third quarter, but only for the first 8 minutes, and then Boston brought it back to respectability,
mm.
and then fourth quarter was all Boston.
I hear you.
So, like I said, it wasn't the score is not an indication of what transpired.
Right,
Mhm.
right.
But you know, I can't I can't get overly mad because I said they were going to lose these two games anyway. But how they lost them was a big thing. That just didn't
Yeah, I hear you.
that just didn't sit well with me, and
That's why
it
I
won't
say, you
sit well
know,
with me.
if the game is, it looks like there's a possibility, so to speak. I'll finish watching it,
Mhm. Mhm.
but I
But
wasn't I wasn't home to watch this one, so
right, no, it just
yeah,
was
that,
it was sad for, and it's easy to point to the coach, but I think it's all of it,
yeah, it is.
all of it. I don't think the coach he's more staunch in his ways now than ever, because the to have your your players playing the minutes that they do, and it's weird. Oh, I didn't realize this stat. Mikal Bridges only played 28 minutes today.
Really.
Yeah, he wasn't in foul trouble at all.
Mm.
Well, I can't say he was getting cooked.
Was he effective scoring wise?
Yeah, he was 50%.
Mm.
I'm looking at the game. I'm like thinking of the game. I'm like, I didn't realize he played that little bit of minutes.
Mm.
It's weird. That's weird. I gotta look at that. That just stood out to me. Yeah, I don't have all the stats on that. Well, they play Boston one more time at the Garden in April, so I don't know if
Really?
it's going to be a serious game because that's going to be toward the end of the season, and whether they're going to be playing for anything, I don't know. So
Mm.
I can't say that it's going to mean something if we beat them in the Garden,
Exactly.
you know. And the same thing for Cleveland. We don't play them again until um I think yeah to April again. Yeah, into
Mm.
April. So
What about OKC?
we don't play them anymore this season. Mhm.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, we played out 2 games against them. Yeah, we got 2 more games against Cleveland, both in April, in Cleveland and in at the Garden. So I don't know how it's going to play out. I'm hoping Mitchell Robinson will be back to give us some element of, I can't even say him being back, because you think about it, he's been out all year.
Yeah,
How effective he will be in whatever limited minutes he'll get
exactly.
doesn't going to it's not going to speak to anything. So it's not like he's going to be in full in
Yeah,
half in mid season form.
yeah, because they're gonna have to
So
play him. They're gonna have to watch him as they play.
mm-hmm,
You know.
mm-hmm. So I don't even know how effective he's going to be on the court to warrant any true impact on the team. So
Yeah.
I don't know. I don't feel confident against this team right now, particularly because of how they've played against these teams and how these teams are motivated to really beat up on them.
Yeah.
So I can't. I'm gonna leave it there. These next 3 games, they're all winnable games. They play at Philly on Wednesday. They got a 2 day break. No, sorry, not at Philly. At home against Philly. Then they go on the road for 2 games, one against Memphis, one against Miami. Those are all winnable games. I did pick on my sheet 2-1, but I think they need to go 3-0 in these 3 games. I
And they
said
beat
two and
them. They
one when
beat
I
them
wrote
the last time.
my wins loss on my sheet of paper. I picked
Uh-huh.
2-1 for the next 3 games at this point, but they need to win these 3 games. Just for these are tough games. The Phillies team is going to fight. I don't think Embiid is going to have any impact on the game at all. But you know, Maxey is going to be a fighter.
Yeah.
Paul George is not going to play no fight anymore. I don't see any fighting him anymore. But the Memphis game again and the Miami game are definitely games that I think they need to win those games too. So
Yeah.
that's how I feel. They need to go 3-0 in these two games, in these three games.
I hope they do.
Mm-hmm.
Definitely hope they do. They need to, you know. And then you gotta. Did they say anything about the degree of? Because they mentioned Town. I saw he was limping. Towns was hurt.
Yeah, weird move by Tips, and again it had RJ Barrett images on me as well. 4 minutes back in the game, he comes in. He's already injured.
Really?
Yeah,
And
and
he
he
put him
played the
back
rest
in?
of the fourth quarter when they were already down by 20 points.
Oh, you gotta be kidding me.
Yes, that's the Tibbsism. So it's like, come on, dude.
No.
And it brought back vibes of RJ Barrett when
Mm,
they were losing the game against Denver. He brings him back 1 minute left. What he does? Sprains ankle bad. He was out 3 weeks.
mm,
Granted, he may not have gotten severely, but they're gonna be. Then they gotta. They play against a big man, and even though Embiid's not playing, what's his name? What's the big guy that's on that team now?
on Philly?
On Philly, Drummond. He's
Oh,
back on the court now. He's a beast on rebounding. I was
yeah.
watching the game the other night. You know, he's still a beast. He's still awkward, but he's still a beast on the
Yeah.
rebound. You got to move. You got to account for him.
Yeah, he surprises me when he plays good.
Mm-hmm.
I'm like, okay, where did he
So
come from?
yeah, so I'm not. You know, Tibbs is not on my good side right now. So
Mm,
he's not that he ever really is, but I left him alone because how he was able to get the team to play last year. And whatever he did to get the team to play last year is not happening effective this year.
yeah.
That
And,
team was focused and they had different spirit about them.
and you can have the bench, you know, they can have a good game, one or two good games,
Mm-hmm.
and if you don't have a bench that you can rely on all the time, a consistent
Mm-hmm.
bench, you know, a game every now and then, that's expected,
Mm-hmm.
because they're all professional players.
Yeah. Clock is twice, 2 times a day. Broken clock,
Yeah,
rather. It's right two
exactly.
times a day.
Exactly.
So yeah. So I'm gonna leave it there.
Yep.
Great talking with you, yeah, Jimmy. It's been
Same
fun. I
here.
haven't seen you in a while. Still Harlem to MSG. We still good.
There you go.